I am Ilger. Today, I am going to introduce an incredible true story to our readers. Have you ever heard about the human cells that can live forever? It's truly extraordinary that these immortal cells actually belong to one African American woman, Henrietta Lacks. The scientists named them as HeLa cells, the first two letters in her first and last names. They became the first human cell line that could grow and divide endlessly in a laboratory, leading scientists to label them immortal. These cells have unique properties. They can divide an unlimited number of times in a laboratory cell culture. There's no way of knowing exactly how many of Henrietta's cells are living today. One scientist estimates that if you could pile all HeLa cells ever grown onto a scale, they'd weigh more than 50 million metric tons, an inconceivable number, given that an individual cell weighs almost nothing. Another scientist calculated that if you could lay all HeLa cells ever grown end to end, they'd wrap around the Earth at least 3 times, spanning more than 350 million feet. Quoted from Prologue, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, 2010. All the details of HeLa cells' origin are vividly presented in this incredible non-fiction story, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, written by Rebecca Skloot. When I first read this book, I was totally blown away by this incredible story and was awed by its profound impact on our lives. Over the years, stories and news on the developments of HeLa cells keep popping up as medical and scientific research advances. Ever since they were taken from Henrietta Lacks' cancer cells in 1951, they have been continuously cultured and used in numerous scientific applications all over the world: cancer research, polio vaccine development, human genetics, drug testing, enzyme research, treatments for Parkinson's disease, and even in COVID vaccines. Before we delve deeper into Henrietta Lacks' story and legacy, let's talk about the author of the book, Rebecca Skloot. She is an American science writer who studied biology and earned an MFA in creative nonfiction. Specializing in narrative science writing, Skloot has published articles in several prominent magazines, including the New York Times Magazine, Discover, and others. She has also taught in various institutions, imparting her skills in creative writing and science journalism to aspiring writers. Skloot spent over a decade researching and writing this book. She narrates in the book how she initiated this project. Her interest began in her high school biology class when her teacher mentioned HeLa cells without much information, and Skloot was determined to find out more about their origins. In the book, she discussed all the obstacles she encountered during her research, including her interactions with the Lacks family. She made tremendous efforts to conduct more than 1,000 hours of interviews with Lacks family and friends, particularly Deborah, Henrietta's youngest daughter, as well as with lawyers, ethicists, scientists, and journalists. Skloot indicates in the beginning of the book, "I've done my best to capture the language with which each person spoke and wrote. Dialogue appears in native dialects. Passages from diaries and other personal writings are quoted exactly as written." The shocking facts from Skloot's research and findings are clearly indicated on the book jacket. Doctors took her cells without asking. Those cells never died. They launched a medical revolution and a multi-million-dollar industry. More than 20 years later, her children found out. Their lives would never be the same. As Skloot weaves together the scientific narrative of HeLa cells with the personal story of Henrietta Lacks and her family, readers gain insight into the family's pain, confusion, and pride over the legacy of Henrietta's cells. Readers also learn more about Henrietta's family background, being a poor Southern tobacco farmer, her struggling family life with 5 children, her cervical cancer diagnosis at the age of 30, and her undergoing treatments at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in 1951. According to Skloot's findings, back then, the Johns Hopkins Hospital was one of only a few hospitals in America to treat poor African Americans in separated wards used for people of color. Skloot details the extraordinary circumstances of how cancer cells were taken from Henrietta Lacks' body without her knowledge and how it led to significant scientific breakthroughs. It was during radium treatments for her cervical cancer at Johns Hopkins, when a sample of her cancer cells was sent to Dr. George Guy's nearby tissue lab. At that time, Dr. Guy, a prominent cancer and virus researcher, was collecting cells from all patients who came to Johns Hopkins Hospital for cancer treatment. Normally, all sample cells would quickly die in his lab because most human cells have a limited lifespan when cultured outside the body. What Dr. Guy would discover with Henrietta Lacks cells was something he had ever seen. He was amazed at the discovery that these cells magically doubled every 20 to 24 hours. Under the right circumstances, to divide indefinitely and to proliferate rapidly, making them uniquely desirable for lab studies. As a result, HeLa became the first immortalized cell line. Despite the radium treatments, Henrietta Lacks passed away on October 4, 1951 at the age of 31. Amazingly, her immortal cells continue to impact the medical and scientific world. In addition to the developments and applications of the immortal HeLa cells, this book also addresses issues of bioethics, race, and the intersection of science and commerce. Skloot's work exemplifies the blend of rigorous scientific inquiry with compassionate storytelling, making complex bioethical issues accessible and relevant to a wide audience. Her careful research, in-depth interviews, and detailed narrative earned her praise from both the scientific community and general readers. The book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, became an instant bestseller and remained on the New York Times bestseller list for 6 years. It has been translated into more than 25 languages and used in educational settings to discuss bioethics and the history of science and medicine. It has also been adapted into various formats, including a movie produced by and starring Oprah Winfrey. Despite their extraordinary contributions to biomedical research, the story of HeLa cells also serves as a poignant reminder of the ethical dilemmas in scientific research. Henrietta Lacks' family was not made aware of the use of her cells until many years after her death, leading to significant ethical discussions about consent, racial dynamics in medical research, and the commercialization of human biological materials. I'll end this book talk with a quote from the New York Times review, one of the most graceful and moving nonfiction books I've read in a very long time. The immortal life of Henrietta Lacks floods over you like a narrative dam break, as if someone had managed to distill and purify the more addictive qualities of Aaron Brockovich, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil and the Andromeda Strain. More than 10 years in the making, it feels like the book Ms. Skloot was born to write. Dwight Garner. The text of this book talk was edited by Mary Rose Waldron.